As usual, I have an announcement before I do my speaker thing. The moms are here for all practical purposes. They have numbers on the pot. We're going to do this in an orderly fashion. I didn't bring my cat herder with me today. So anyway, if y'all want to just let me tell you the number that you ordered. I'm sure everybody remembers their number. I'll tell you the number you ordered, and then I'll have people to help me to pick them up, and then go that way. If you pick it up for someone else, just let me know, and I'll give you their number too. Okay? Because it's nobody wants to get credit for getting a mom they didn't get. Right, JB? I charged him twice for the hanging baskets. Okay. Today, it is my honor and my privilege to introduce Dale Folwell. He is our state treasurer. Dale was very good about coming to us on Zoom. Hope and I had a struggle during the Zoom years, and to find someone that would come on Zoom. A lot of people didn't want to come on Zoom. And not only did he come one time, he came twice. So I told him the third time's a charm. We need to feed him this time. So Dale grew up in Winston-Salem. He graduated from UNCG and got his master's from UNCG in accounting. He was with the House of Representatives for 4 terms. He's been the state treasurer since he was elected in 2016 and started serving in 2017. And I think you're in your second term as state treasurer. And he and his wife Cynthia, I guess you live in Raleigh? I didn't ask that question. Winston-Salem, so he's really local. But anyway, I want to welcome Dale to come with us and give him a good Rotary welcome.
Thank you all very much, and it's great to be with you in person. I'd like to start my remarks by saying that I could get emotional. There are things happening in our world these days that are worth getting emotional about. I'll not be getting political for 2 reasons. It violates the spirit of Rotary. But the second reason is the blood that runs through me is Quaker. So the Folwells are from LA, North Carolina. I think people from DC know where LA, North Carolina is. Lower Archdale. And our church, Springfield Friends, is celebrating its 250th year this year. So Springfield Friends was actually here before our country was founded. And one of the spices of the Quaker religion is to be fair and just. And with everything that's dividing our society these days, which is political party and gender and race, none of that exists at the Treasurer's office. The only thing we focus on as keepers of your public purse is the color green, G-R-E-E-N. And so I'm going to go over that. Now the last thing is I'm going to be highly mathematical, so if math makes you nauseous, you probably should get credit for the meeting and leave now. So anything else happens. I was with the Collinsville Rotary Club this morning, and every time I'm at the Collinsville Rotary Club, where's Dr. Dave? Somebody gets up there and tells a joke that, well, the other doctor, the Reverend Dave. Somebody gets up and tells a joke that they probably shouldn't say. So maybe they need to have Reverend Dave go give their invocation at the Collinsville Rotary Club. Robert, for you, I'm just reminded of Representative Jamie Bowles, who you know from Pinehurst. And Representative Bowles says, I'm the last person to ever let you down. So that's his campaign slogan, Sam. He's also an undertaker, funeral home director, so glad to be with you. I'm also reminded of former Congressman Howard Caldwell, who many of you knew extremely well. Howard would go home to Alamance County. His mom would make this big spread of food, and Howard would say thank you, and his mom would look at him and say, it just didn't jump up on the table by itself. And this event, whether it's the decorations, the cloths, the registrar, the food, everything that went into this, President Jerry and Kim, I know that this didn't jump up on the table by itself. I was telling Franklin a few moments ago that at the Collinsville Rotary Club this morning at 7 a.m., they asked me to, draw a ticket out. Now, I'm the state treasurer of North Carolina, managing one of the biggest pools of public money in the world. That was a the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. You're gonna make one person happy and you're gonna lose 53 votes. But just in a split second, the person drew the wrong card, so I got the 53 votes back. That's how fickle things are, Jerry. As I proceed, I just want to tell you that there's a lot going on in our economy right now, and a lot going on at the Treasurer's Office. Number one, this is going to be like a country music song, so I'm going to build you up, then I'm going to burn you down, then I'm going to build you back up at the end, so you got to stay around for the optimism. As you may recall, CNBC just reported 2 months ago, North Carolina was number one in the country for business activity and business outlook. First time in state history that your state has been number one in the United States for business certainty and business outlook. Now I say this to you, I'm reporting this to you, that let's just give credit where credit's due. Credit goes to the taxpayers like you, employers like you, and the General Assembly who has balanced its budget, built surpluses, established rainy day funds, and has given me the tools that I need to maintain our AAA bond rating, and we're one of only 13 states that has that. Scott, can you hear that? That glass. Thank you. And so part of that is based on the debt situation in North Carolina. Now, this, going up to 2010, this was the debt mountain that North Carolina was creating. This is 2010 right here. And you can't tell this in the back of the room, but 1 year of debt service, 1 year of debt service here equaled all the debt that was outstanding here. 1 year of debt service. So this was obviously an unsustainable debt path. What I will show you is that since 2010, this is now the trajectory of the North Carolina state debt. As a matter of fact, unless you're as old as Calvin Coolidge, you've never heard what I'm getting ready to tell you. The state debt of North Carolina is going to fall 60% over 8 years. Not 6, 60. And 5 of those years are already in the rearview mirror. And the other 3 years, I've already pre-refunded all those bonds. So this is not some consultant telling you this. This is actually what's happening in North Carolina. And it's one of the major reasons, I think, that we just got designated number one in the country for business outlook. Now, the Treasurer's Office, my wife always says to put things in context. Now, some of you know my wife. Franklin knows my wife. She's been to my house and taken art lessons and maybe some music lessons. And Paige, as soon as she graduated from Wake Forest, I didn't know her from Adam. This was pre-Chad, pre-kids, pre-marriage, pre-dating, pre-everything. She was my chief of staff at the North Carolina legislature. So my wife, in case you haven't met her, is the cutest 250-year-old woman you've ever met in your life. Now, the women are saying there's got to be another part of the sentence. There is. When she left Winston-Salem today, by the way, I'm hardly ever home on Tuesday night. Cynthia's in 5 different bands, and one of her bands was meeting last night, so I came into the house last night, Tuesday night, and some guy said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I live here." But I'm in Raleigh all week, so they're not used to seeing me. The reason I say that she's the cutest 250-year-old woman that you've ever met is that when she went to work today at Old Salem, she was wearing the period uniform of 250 years ago. Now, Franklin, don't ever do this, but when I was courting her and asking her to marry me, I said, if you'll marry me, you'll never have to do any more ironing for the rest of your life. I'll do all the ironing.
I'll take that advice.
Don't do this. Because your wife may have worked at Old Salem. She wears 6 layers of wool that all have to be ironed. In addition to the hat, you've seen the hats that they wear at Old Salem. It has to be ironed 3 different ways. This part has to be ironed a certain way, this part needs to be ironed a certain way, and the poofy part needs to be ironed a certain way. So don't ever make it off. So why do I bring my spouse in this conversation? It's for 2 main reasons. Whether it's Scott's spouse, the fire chief's spouse, or any of your other city manager's spouse, we get to get up and give these remarks, but it's really the spouses of law enforcement, the spouses of school teachers, the spouses of public servants that really put up with a lot. The second reason I mentioned Cynthia is that she's, in addition to working at Old Salem, she's a muddy sneaker. So she takes fifth graders out in the woods and she teaches them biology. So anytime that Cynthia does something for you, whether she's playing her mandolin, whether she's singing, whether she's painting, and you can look at me, or whether she's cooking, or whether she's demonstrating it with muddy sneakers or Old Salem, you can see it or you can hear it. So these things I'm talking about, like AAA bond ratings and the debt service and all these things, they're not things, they're invisible. They're not things that you can see and hear until something goes wrong. So we're very pleased to report that. The pension plan that many in this room depend on, by the way, 1 out of 10 adult North Carolinians are on this pension plan today. 1 out of 10 adult North Carolinians. Nearly 1 million active and retired employees. Our pension plan for the last fiscal year was down 7%. I don't like reporting that to you. But we came into this year with the highest levels of cash equivalents and the shortest duration of bonds in the history of our state. And Jerry and others in this room will tell you the only two places that you could hide this year is cash equivalents and short duration of bonds. It's the only two things that haven't gotten massacred in the stock market, in the bond market. As a matter of fact, for the first time in any of our lifetimes, the stock and the bond market have sequentially gone down together. They always sort of don't correlate. They've gone down together almost every month this year for the first time in our lifetimes. It's a very serious matter. But for those in the audience and otherwise who teach, protect, and serve, you may be interested in asset allocation and all these other things. But what you're really interested in is this pension plan going to remain in the check delivery business. That's what you're interested in. Because I dare say behind your faith and your family and your health, the two most important things in your life as a state employee is the safety and security of this pension plan and the state health plan. But we also manage the local pension plan, the volunteer firefighter pension plan, the judicial pension plan. We manage all that. The pension plan this year topped $120 billion. That's almost 5 times the size of the state budget. Just the pension plan. It's the 26th largest pool of public money in the world. So if you want to know why I talk the way I do and act the way I do, is this is serious business. And it's serious business for those that teach, protect, and serve who are depending on this pension plan being around in one day. The pension plan is about 86% funded. South Carolina is 60% funded. Alabama is 62% funded. One of the Kentucky systems is only 30% funded. The reason I say this is even though this is one of the best funded pension plans in the United States, it has some headwinds. And what I'm getting ready to say to you, and I hope this isn't too intense, but you deserve to know it. What I'm getting ready to say to you are mentioning 3 things that are all blessings in everyday life. The first blessing is that interest rates have been nearly negative for the last 8 years, which is fantastic if you're building a house, investing in your mind, or buying a business. But for a big pension plan like ours that has $46 billion sitting in things that earn interest, it's not a good thing. But it's a blessing for the economy. The second is early retirements, which is a blessing to those people who can retire early. And the third is life expectancies. As a matter of fact, when I barely graduated from West Forsyth High School in 1977, there were only 300 people over the age of 90 who are getting a pension check off the system. Next month, it's 8,000. 8,000 people over the age of 90. So you can kind of see this in context when you're managing one of the largest pools of public money in the world. Interest rates have never been this low. People have never retired this early or lived this long. And it's not political, it's not emotional, it's mathematical. The great news for the women in the audience is that for the first time our actuaries have told us that any female who goes to work for state or local government is now expected to draw more retirement checks than paychecks.
Wow.
First time in state history. My Aunt Ruth Hoover, she was the oldest state employee in North Carolina. She was 97 years old when she stopped working in Allen J. Middle School, right in the Allen J area, 97. And that just tells you a little bit about life expectancies. Serious business. Very quickly on the pension plan, we just got scored in the 0 percentile. We've been able to cut $700 million in Wall Street fees out of the pension plan. This is CDM benchmarking, same group that the previous treasurer used, and this is North Carolina right over here. It means that no pension plan in the world is as efficient as yours is. So I'm standing on the shoulders of the people back at Raleigh who helped us cut $700 million in Wall Street fees out of your pension plan. We're managing a $15 billion 401 and 457 plan. And so that's the good news. The AAA bond rating, #1 in the country. The pension plan is one of the best funded in the country, if not the world. Now I'm going to burn you down and talk about health care. Now, when I talk about health care, I want to remind you that I'm not talking about the people who saved my life on March 22nd of 2020. Cynthia sometimes accuses me of talking as if I should stutter more than I do now, as if I'm a doctor. Now, my initials are Dale Robbins Folwell. That's Dr. Folwell. That gets me pretty close, Scott, to being called doctor. Pretty close. Close as I'm ever going to get. So I was one of the early contractors of COVID. And I'm not a doctor, but I know that when your blood oxygen level is 82, while you're consuming 8 liters of oxygen in intensive care, you're not long for this world. The more oxygen they gave me, the more my body rejected me. So praise God that I'm here in the prayers and the healthcare workers in my family. So when I get ready to talk about the cartel, I'm not talking about the people who do the work of healthcare in the state. I'm talking about these multi-million-dollar executives who run these multi-billion-dollar corporations, who disguise themselves as nonprofits, who don't pay state income tax, don't pay sales tax, and don't pay income tax. Now, why should this Rotary Club care about that? Because if you look in that brochure about what your mission statement is, you care a lot about public education, public safety, public works, and public roads. Those are the 3 taxes that fund public education, public safety, public works, and public roads. Income, sales, and property taxes. When I attempted to find out what the cartel was charging our state employees in North Carolina, I sent a simple little letter to UNC Healthcare. Now, you don't have to have a photographic memory like I do to understand what I'm getting ready to show you. This is the secret sauce. This is the Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe right here. This is the master charge list. Frank was getting all excited. This is the master charge list of UNC Healthcare about what every procedure at UNC Healthcare costs. This is what was returned to me as your state treasurer. A little different than it used to be, Dr. Williams. This is the master charge list that was returned to me when I tried to find out what we're paying for health care. The fact is, this industry and these multi-million-dollar executives have spent 45 years building this cartel. I just spoke to 200 FBI agents in Wilmington, and let me tell you, when you use the word cartel in front of FBI agents, you better know what you're talking about. Obviously, with FBI agents, you're talking about one product, but we're going to talk about the product of healthcare. Healthcare, they control the supply of this product through something called certificate of need. The first 3 letters of those 3 words are pronounced con. It's a con on the people of this state. Because the cartel controls the number of beds, the number of procedures, the number of pieces of equipment, they control all of that. So they control the supply, they control the quality, they control the access to health care, and they control the price of health care, and then they control whether they're going to weaponize your credit score if you don't pay for this product that they wouldn't tell you what it costs up front. And this is where I probably get a little bit emotional. All of our lives we've heard this term called making ends meet. We are now in a situation where ends are never going to meet. Not because of the murderous invasion of Ukraine, not because of COVID, not because of acts of God, but because of healthcare and healthcare billing. Some of you, Mr. Manager, knew former Treasurer Harlan Bowles very well. He warned us about this in 1977. Bill Gates warned us about this 15 years ago. State Auditor Beth Wood, who I think has presented this club in the past, warned us about this 12 years ago. And let me just say something about State Auditor Beth Wood. She and I sit on in a lot of meetings together in the Council of State, Local Government Commission, and other meetings. When Dale Folwell and State Auditor Beth Wood are in the same meeting on the same topic, and I'm actually the calm person in the room, somebody's having a bad day. Because that means the state auditor's after me. Warren Buffett warned us about this 4 years ago, and Senator Elizabeth Warren, running for President of the United States, warned us about this 3 years ago, when she said the leading cause of bankruptcy in this country is things associated with healthcare billing. What do all those people generally have in common in the State Employees Association? They're all Democrats. I'm not. This is not a Democrat-Republican unaffiliated issue. This is a moral issue where people cannot see themselves past their poverty because of things associated with healthcare billing. Now, I'm standing here in front of you as a person who's in medical debt collections on purpose. Last year, doctor, I went in to get an MRI with contrast, and it cost $6,000, and I was there 8 minutes. They wanted $1,500 off the hip pocket. I gave them $500 with the specific purpose of putting myself in medical debt collections. Because I want to see how many threatening phone calls I get, how many threatening letters I get, how many threatening text messages I get by these medical debt collectors. And let me tell you why you should care about this. Because this is far different when Dale Payne's Auto Repair, a very important person in my life back in the early 70s, and the Hayworth family, and the Sing Sing family. I've been racing motorcycles 47 years, so I'm going to know a lot about Dale Payne and the Sing Sing family. This is different than back then. These credit scores now determine what you pay for that cell phone, what you pay for that basic liability insurance on that car you drove in here, whether you get the benefit of the doubt to rent an apartment, whether your interest rate on buying a house. And as the chair of the State Banking Commission, which is one of my 21 other duties, I can tell you that credit scores determine whether you should apply or even get certain essential jobs in the state. So for somebody's credit score to be weaponized off a product they didn't want to consume because that would mean they're healthy, no one would tell them what it costs, Scott. It is immoral. And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. Now I'm going to mention 4 words to you that's going to split this audience wide open. Trump, Biden, conservative, liberal. President Trump issued an executive order to get rid of these secret contracts, and the Hospital Association, the Chamber of Commerce, sued him. President Biden took President Trump's executive order to get rid of these secret contracts and strengthened it, made it better, stronger. And he was sued also. And I'm paraphrasing, which I shouldn't do because I'm on video, but in the Wall Street Journal, when the Hospital Association was asked when they lost the second time on this lawsuit, they said, paraphrasing, we don't think telling people what stuff costs lead them to make better decisions. Today is Senior Citizen Day at Food Line. I know some of you are going to leave here and go to Food Line today so you get your discount. Tomorrow's Senior Citizen Day at Harris Teeter. My point is that you don't consume healthcare, it consumes you. And if you give people the knowledge and the tools, I think people can figure out how to get health care more efficiently on their behalf. So as I start to sort of wind down, let me just tell you that we are introducing a de-weaponization bill. 4 weeks ago, I get a call from a 47-year-old widow who had just lost her husband unexpectedly. He was in the hospital for 1 day, and the bill was $200,000. It has ruined her credit. He is no longer living. So part of our De-Weaponization Act is to stop weaponizing the credit scores of surviving spouses. The other thing that happened about 2 months ago is I was driving up the road and this gentleman called me, and I couldn't hear him very well, and I said, I'm having a hard time hearing you. And he says, it's because I'm standing outside my car. Well, I'm a motorcycle mechanic by training, so anytime somebody says they're broke down, no matter where they are, I sort of think I can help them. And I said, why are you standing outside your car? He said, Mr. Treasurer, because my 15-year-old daughter was sitting inside the car. I said, is she okay? He said, well, yes, sir. He said, 7 weeks ago, she was raped. The hospital charged us $6,000 for a rape kit and the medical attention that she needed. And I get 10 calls a day from medical debt collectors trying to collect this money. And I never want my daughter to feel like that she made the wrong choice in seeking the medical attention. And I never want her to hear about all the harassment I'm getting because of medical debt. So as I start to close, just two quick things I want to tell you. Number one is that we're dealing with a lot of issues at the local government commission. You may have heard that we recently decharted East Laurinburg. Now, East Laurinburg is below Laurinburg. This was the battle of East Laurinburg while we were decharting them. Now, Scott, I know you've held elective office. There's a mayor and 4 city council people on this piece of paper. There's only one name on the whole ballot. Not one name per person, per position. There's only one name. That person lost due to a write-in candidate. My point is the community of East Laurinburg had no interest in governing themselves because nobody even filed for office. State auditor went to East Laurinburg, found checks made out of petty cash. The problem is, Mr. Manager, there's no petty cash account in East Laurinburg, and we found the person who signed the front of the check signed the back of the petty cash check. I know this doesn't happen in the treasury of the Thomasville Rotary Club. And then after East Laurinburg, she went to Spring Lake. Now, Spring Lake is visually between Fort Bragg and Pinehurst. Can any of you think of a great reason why a community between the growing Fort Bragg and the growing Pinehurst cannot be economically viable? We found $550,000 of money had been embezzled from the little town of Spring Lake. There's 35 missing city vehicles. Now, Mr. Manager, I didn't even know Spring Lake had 35 city vehicles at all. There's 35 missing city vehicles. And this is an example of what this person did. They wrote a check off the Spring Lake checking account to the Heritage Nursing Home, $160,000 worth of these checks, and even put her mother's name on the memo line, right here where my hand is. Now, I know that confidence in government is about an all-time low, but I just want to tell you that last Tuesday, this should bring you back up a little bit. Last Tuesday, a Republican state treasurer with a Democrat state auditor and a Biden-appointed U.S. prosecutor by the name of Mike Easley Jr. came together and worked on this investigation that resulted in this person being arraigned and convicted and pled guilty last Tuesday to this embezzlement. The reason this should matter to you is that until I get those convictions, I can't do their felony forfeiture on their pension. Now, when you talk about fair and just, the first felony forfeiture I did was on a Republican member of the North Carolina Senate. The second felony forfeiture I did was on the embezzling registered deeds of Wake County, Wanda Green in Asheville, and now this situation. These felony forfeitures, Dumpstergate in Kernersville, North Carolina, where a person had billed the city for $300,000 worth of dumpsters that never existed. My point is that nothing irritates the public more than to have somebody embezzling money and earning pension credit while we're doing that. So I told Franklin to give me the Carol Burnett, and he's giving me the Carol Burnett. In addition to all those movies your dad's making you watch, now you're going to watch Carol Burnett. So I just want to close by thanking you for having me. I know you've got a new member here that's already been anointed, and I just want to tell, I forgot your name, Laura. I just want to tell you that if every elected official in this country would simply adopt the 4-way test and the motto of service above self, it's unimaginable what we could accomplish in our society. So you're with a great group. Lastly, go to nccash.com. We've paid out $105 million out of nccash.com. Go there and check your name, name, kids, parents. The High Times baseball team had $10,000 sitting at nccash.com. The trucking company in Greenville has $80,000. The International Civil Rights Museum has $1,000. We just gave $200,000 to a lady in Stokes County in a mobile home, the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. No one had ever told her it was sitting there 13 years. 71 years old. So another valuable reason, go to nccash.com and check out your name, name, kids. It stays there forever. There's no charge to make a claim, no charge to look it up. And if you live in any other state, every state has the equivalent of this. So my last name is Folwell, and I don't think there's time for questions, but if there is, I'd be glad to take one too. Jerry?
Questions?
Are you running for governor?
Sam,
We'll go to the next question.
next question.
Sam blushing. Next question. Noted. When I was speaker pro tem and somebody'd say something like that, I'd say noted. Then I go to the next one.
Are there any other questions before we go get some bones?
Real quick, like, I just want to give an endorsement, not political endorsement. Treasurer Folwell knows that one of our local representatives, 4 or 5 years ago, contacted me and said, you need to check that thing down there in Raleigh. You got some money coming to you. Not knowing that my mother had an account that was pretty substantial, and we were able to get that money back. We didn't even know it existed. So, go check. You may have some things you don't know about.
nccash.com. If you want to learn more about the cartel, the charity care that they don't offer versus the tax benefit, the amount of billing that they're doing, weaponizing people's credit scores, you go to nctreasurer.com and learn more about all that. And thank you for being Rotarians, and thank you for giving me an opportunity just to speak to you like adults. And I hope what you've heard make common sense. Thank you.
Quickly echo the nccash.com again, but I have had some family members who benefited from that, and I even mentioned it to every one of my clients to check it out too, so.
Jared,
Do
I
that.
have something too.
Yes, ma'am.
We